Welcome to the new season of the Live Your Spa Life show. The Spa in Spa Life stands for Seek Power Always, that divine power within you to do what you're here to do. The theme for this season is Freedom Fighter. Amazing people like you share ways to ensure your freedom physically, financially, spiritually, and in your relationships to create a world-class life. In these times of uncertainty, it's time for you to move past the distractions and start trusting yourself more through your God-given knowingness. No one truly knows better what's best for you than you. In this season, you'll have plenty of examples of people choosing their best life and giving a voice of freedom to those who are also looking to have their best life. Thank you for sharing your precious time with us and being part of the Live Your Spa Life conversation. With us today is Sabrina Osso, the founder and CEO of Osso Safe, where you can feel safe, where you live, work, and play. She is a TEDx speaker, a real estate agent, and a consultant on promoting safety and preventing violence in the workplace, schools, and places of residence. Sabrina, welcome to the show.
Thank you so much, Diane. Thank you so much. We greatly appreciate the opportunity.
Well, it's great having you. And Sabrina, you are, your personal and professional experience of this subject has allowed you to bring a unique approach and a holistic approach to this solution. I'd love for you to elaborate on that.
Sure. Typically right now, and this has been the truth or the how the situations go, you get either verbal, physical, or sexual abuse. It happens. Call the police. Hire expensive lawyers. If you have children, it makes things much more complicated. Mediators, parent coordinators, child protective service agencies, judges, you go through the courts. If you're a landlord, a property owner, and you have someone that is behaving in this way, typically what happens is that the non-abusive, your well-behaved, safe tenants leave, and then you're stuck with the abusive family. And everybody lives in terror. Everybody lives it's a traumatic, horrible situation. So I really thought long and hard about this when I designed my business, how I wanted to model it. And we feel that there are three markets to concentrate on: schools, workplaces, and places of residence, especially places of residence. Because if you think about it, you're born, you go home, you then go to school, and then you go to work. So it's those three places that we focus on, those three markets. So that's what we mean by a holistic approach, if you will. We are offering products and services that tie in places of residence, schools, and workplaces. And one reinforces the other, really. But we focus on homes, on real estate. And I want to point out, if I may, Diane, we're not a charity, we're not a nonprofit. We respect all of them, but we feel that in a way they keep the problem in place by being just that, a charity nonprofit. We see this as a business, as a paid service. That way it actually gets resolved. So I hope I answered the question.
Yeah, absolutely. And, I found that, people's own personal path, their own experience really leads to their passionate work and what they're about. And so, one of the things that we share with our audience is, they see the outside, they see the end result, they see the success, but they don't always see what came behind that and what was there with that. And so, we have these disempowering moments, these things that lead us to the kind of work that we do. So I'd love for you to share a little bit about your disempowering your background, particularly like your childhood and your parents, and what were some of those things that led up to you wanting to make a difference in this area?
Sure. Excellent question. I've had years of on and off therapy to be comfortable enough to say that I am a survivor of violence. My father beat my mother on a regular basis. My mother beat me. So I know firsthand how traumatic, how uh, it's like living with a terrorist, really. And I can't remember too many good things from my childhood. When you live in that type of environment, you can't. Safety is the most important thing in anyone's life, especially as a child. So when that is jeopardized, sabotaged, taken away, your life is stolen from you, because you can't think about what it is that you really want to do with your life. You can't think about, oh, I'm going to hang out with my friends. The weekend is coming. I have A, B, C, and D planned. You don't have that growing up in a scary environment where dad is beating up mom, or mom is beating up dad, or you're getting beat up. There's no such thing. So,
Right.
it wasn't until I moved out that I was free, completely
Mm.
free. And up until that point, I was basically, I did what I was supposed to do. I have a degree in computer science. I got the jobs, the corporate world, but I didn't like it at all, the corporate world. And my therapist said to me, Sabrina, you're a dancer. You have to go dance. So, and I've always had that in me, but I couldn't even mention it, Diane, in my house. I couldn't.
Mm.
So when I moved out, I started dancing. I was a heavy duty clubber in New York City. I loved clubbing. My favorite music is techno. So at the time I was club hopping. It was very, very freeing. And I was dancing, I was training, I was auditioning a lot in New York City. And then I was teaching dance also for about 10 years with my dance students. It was great. And then so I was getting gigs, but I started writing my one woman show called Home Sweet Home.
Mm.
And in that show, I play different women being abused. She goes to her good place. That's where the dancing comes in. But then she's pulled back into the terror of violence. But the show ends really strong, really empowering. And but I did a lot of research for the show, and I thought to myself, I want the show to be educational. I want it to be eye-opening. I want it to be entertaining. And I couldn't believe what I was finding out, the statistics, the how common this is, not just in my house, but in many people's houses. So I said to myself, I'm going to make this into a business, a bona fide business with products and services, so that way I could really help people. And I thought about what would have helped me growing up. Like, what did I need growing up? And so that's how Osso Safe was born, turning pain into power, if you will. So I hope
Yes.
I answered the question.
Yes, absolutely. Well, first of all, I want to congratulate you for getting on the other side of that and being able to have the perspective. And I always love to make the distinction of people who identify themselves as a victim versus a victor. People who have had victim experiences, but they've made powerful decisions in their life to use those experiences to have impact on their own life and on others as well. I'm not sure if you actually know, I'm a retired police officer. So I did that for 10 years. And I also worked undercover and got to see a lot of different, I've been in thousands of homes and I've seen a lot of what you speak about. And there aren't always clear ways. And the court system, particularly family court, is not always a friend of the child. And we'll get into a little bit more about that later. But I think this is a very important subject, especially now, and especially over the last couple of years, with children in particular. I just recently did an interview with Dr. Rihanna Milne, who really looked at trauma. And up until the last couple of years, they said 90% of people experience some sort of childhood trauma in their life. And now that statistic is actually 100%, because what brought that up to 100% is what's considered now community trauma that happened from COVID. And so it's very interesting where now a lot of the tools and things that you are offering are more relevant now in the world than ever. And so I'd love to really get into some of that about how we can support people with that. And I'd love to just kind of start with when you're in an abusive situation and this is your modeling of your parents, how is it as an adult that you're able to identify a good relationship?
Yes. I feel that this has to be a practice. So we say that over and over again at Osso Safe. Whether you come, especially if you come from violence, it's easy to continue that horrible pattern, right? Fall into the trap if you come from violence. So we feel at Osso Safe, this has to be a practice. Education is a big part of what we do. And we have to teach our boys and girls that in order to become a man and in order to become a woman, you do not dominate anyone that you're dating, whether it is that you're dating a minute or you're dating and you get engaged, you get married, you get divorced for whatever reason. Abuse, violence, chaos, dysfunction should not be a part of anyone's life, period, over and out. So a good relationship is respect. To put it in one word, if I had to put it in one word, and I do get asked this, like what constitutes a good relationship if you had to sum it in one word? That key word is respect. So you can get upset. We're not saying if you get into a fight with your significant other, your partner, then it's over. That's it. You broke the rules. Then you're violent and you're abusive. No, not at all. You're going to have disagreements. You're going to have conflict. You are going to have fights, if you will. However, it should never, ever, ever cross the line of abuse, not verbal, not physical, not sexual. So if I am with my significant other, no matter your sexual orientation, it doesn't matter, and I'm calling him or her, you're nothing, you're a piece of garbage, you're a monster, you're a slut, a whore, a tramp, that's being disrespectful. I can disagree. I can be in conflict and say, look, well, you think that this is green. Well, I'm saying that this should be blue. And there's a way to fight. There's a way to be in disagreement without throwing things, attacking the person. So there has to be respect. And that means I honor you, you honor me. And if you have to walk away for a few minutes, an hour, a couple of hours, whatever it takes. Especially in front of children. And this is huge because children are very traumatized when mom and dad are fighting. And arguing is fine, but if you're yelling and screaming and you're attacking, that's abuse, that's violence, that's chaos, that's dysfunction. It's very traumatic to a child. So, and you have to kind of make it a promise to yourself and to that person that we're never going to cross that line. And this is indeed a practice. And we have outlined and we could talk about this later on in the interview, but just to give it as a segue, we have outlined in one of our core products, the Osso Safe Home Sweet Home package. In it is the Osso Safe Home Sweet Home Code of Living, and it gives do's and don'ts on verbal, physical, and sexual ways of conduct, if you will, the do's and don'ts. And it's like a strong general guideline. And I think all of us need that. All of us do, because you could come from a good family. When I say a good family, meaning a supportive family, you have a good support system. Mom and dad never ever touched each other as far as violence or abuse. But you could be dating someone, if you don't know the warning signs, a
Mhm.
monster. And we
Right.
we teach about red flags. What are the warning signs? So what is the opposite of that? What constitutes a good relationship? What constitutes a bad relationship? So I hope I answered the question, because I do go off
Yeah.
on a tangent, but there's so many parts to this that
Right.
um, I feel like we should be taught this at school, and we're not. And
Right.
and we're making it a point actually to make this part of one's education. um how to be in a relationship, how uh to be in residency no matter where you live. So yeah,
Mhm.
so it's all very important components.
Right, right. I mean, definitely we need to have, the tools. I mean, we like to think that this comes from, from the family, right? Because there's family values, there's, the things that you intend to have in a community with a family. But when your family doesn't have that, where do those people go, and where can they get those kind of foundational agreements of how to act in relationship and just in decency with people? One of the things you had said is, in asking of yourself of what you wish you had, what would have supported you when you were a child. What were you able to determine what that would have been?
Yes. As I mentioned, our core product is the Osso Safe Home Sweet Home code of living, and it's embedded in a package, if you will, that we are offering this in the real estate industry. We want this to propagate over all residency, but right now we're concentrating on the landlord tenant portion of the industry because that's the path of least resistance. So we're saying, look, Mr. and Miss Landlord, hire us. We'll get your property Osso Safe certified. What does that mean? They purchase the landlords the Osso Safe Home Sweet Home package. It consists of a policy, a seminar, an app, and therapists assigned to the property. So, in the package, just to give a brief overview of each one of those things, the policy, it's an addendum to existing leases or existing mortgages or existing titles, if you will. And it basically states, I, as a landlord, I promise to provide you a safe space for you to live. You, in turn, as my tenant, you promise not to act in any way, shape, or form abusively. Otherwise, you, the abuser only, gets immediately evicted from the premises. And we go into full knowledge knowing that that would be the consequences. So there's a waiver in the policy. And this is
Right.
all copywritten.
Mhm.
And
So it's a civil agreement.
right, right. So that's the policy portion. Then there is a seminar. We require in Osso Safe certified properties that everybody gets educated, adults and children, on facts, statistics, warning signs, definitions of abuse, the difference between abuse and discipline, just to name a few items. So this goes back to what we were talking about. So that way, oh, if I pull my partner's hair in public or private, that's abuse. If I call my child a slut or whore or tramp, that's verbal abuse. If I attack them in any way sexually, that's abuse. So there's no mystery anymore. You get educated. What constitutes a good relationship? Respect, freedom of choice, positivity, empowerment, encouragement. And
Mm.
this is all practiced in our seminar. So it's interactive. It's not just lecture. It's no, now we learned it. Now we're going to do it in the seminar.
Right,
The third
right.
component is an app. This app detects violent like movements and captures them in real time, issuing alerts to the landlord. So let's say a landlord has 10 units. They get an alert. Wow, I just saw you beat the crap out of her in my unit 2, and you just beat the crap out of him in my unit 10. Well, this is grounds for eviction. You knew that this was going to happen. You signed the policy. You got educated. You got to go because I have to keep the rest of my residents intact and safe. So right now it's being updated, but that's essentially what the app does. Then the fourth
Right.
and final component are therapists assigned to the property. So as part of your residency, you are required to check in with your therapist once a month. Is everything okay? Do you feel like anything is looming? Just to give an example, well, Mr. and Miss Therapist, our kid came home with bad grades. We know we're not going to beat them up. We're not going to tell them what the hell is wrong with you. You're a piece of garbage. We know better than that, but help us through this because we don't know how to handle this.
Right.
This
So
is
giving them the
all
positive tools.
right. This is all preventative versus waiting for an episode of violence to occur. Police come, bad news travels fast, and before you know it, your safe tenants are leaving, and then you're stuck with the abusive family. So
Right.
this is all part of the certification, and you are held to a higher regard, a higher standard in an Osso Safe certified property because now safety is a required standard condition of residency. This has never been done before. And
Wow.
when I think back, if I had this in my house growing up, my father would not have gotten away with half the things he got away with. So,
Right.
so this is what we are introducing, implementing in the real estate industry.
Got it. We know we've heard in the legal system about doing things that are in the benefit of the child. I'd like you to speak a little bit to the legal system because you talk about how a lot of times that can actually do more damage to the child than good.
Yes, and I'm so glad that you were a police officer, so you just echoed that where you saw a lot of injustice, if you will. I'm speaking from personal and professional experience, the courts, and when I say courts, I mean from the police. And I'm not, please don't misunderstand me. You were a cop, right? There are good police out there. But when I say from the police, the mediators, the parent coordinators, the child protective service agencies, and the judges, if they do not have good judgment, they make horrible matters even worse, especially judges, because they do what is in the worst interest of the abused child versus what is in the best interest. Because if they were doing their job, and I mean judges out of the whole equation, because you as the family in distress, right? You hire the lawyers and you do what you're supposed to do and you get the certifications and you submit all of the proof and you have bruises on you. You take the pictures, you go to the doctor, you take your kid out of school and you go to court and oh my gosh. And then you go before these judges that the evidence is right there. It's right there. Put it together. It's not that difficult. In my eyes, they're not using what's right in front of them. And they make these harsh, quick decisions. And they hold in their hand the lives of children, abused children in their hands. And they make it even worse. And proof is 2-year-old Kira Franchetti, 3-year-old Bella Bond, 6-year-old Zymir Perkins, 7-year-old Nixmary Brown. They're all dead. They were murdered at the hands of an abusive parent under the watch of a child protective service agency, the courts, the laws, and the judges. They're not here to defend themselves. They're all murdered. So with our products and services that we are introducing into the market and I want to say that everything that we do, we are advised by a small team of lawyers. So that way everything is in check and enforceable in court.
Right.
But however, and one of the team members that I have is a family law expert in a lawyer, and she said, Sabrina, wow, With your products and services, you are short-circuiting the entire process. It gets resolved right in residency where it needs to be resolved. What do you need the courts for? You nip it in the bud right in residency where it needs to be resolved. So
Right.
I feel
This is
that.
important.
Go ahead. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
No, I was just going to say, I think this is such an important distinction because I know just even with myself and fellow officers that your hands feel so tied when you're looking at things from a criminal perspective versus a civil. And, if both parents aren't a good option and the system isn't always a good option, it's like, where do you fall upon? And, going to a civil way of looking at things where people are pre agreeing to things before, then you're basically taking those things back into your own hands and you're not leaving it to the whim of a judge that either doesn't have all of the information or is rushed to the next case and doesn't necessarily have the best interest of a child in mind. And we've seen both wins and losses, on that, but it's arbitrary. And, you don't want that to be an arbitrary situation when it comes to a child to be able to look at what their best interest is. One of the things you've also talked about too is about how children should have more agency in their life before the age of 18. What would that look like?
Yes, I'm so glad you said that because I was just going to mention that in an Osso Safe certified property, children have agency over their lives way before 18. If we wait till they're 18, it's too late. It's just too late. These children that are in these abusive environments, they will become future victims or future abusers or both. And by the time they're 18, the way the laws are set up right now, right? You can't do anything until you're 18 years old. You have to be under the rule of the abusive parents. And if both parents are abusive, forget it. That child's life, it's a hopeless situation, a very scary situation. And that child will resort to drugs, alcohol, getting into gangs, getting involved with the wrong people, the wrong relationships, the wrong friendships. They will start to self-harm, and ultimately, in some cases, they will commit suicide. Why? In an Osso Safe certified property, we find there are, for the sake of this interview, I kept it very simple. But there are 3 levels of certification. The first level, everybody gets educated. And in that first level, we find out, who does the child feel safe with? We ask the child. Now, granted, we realize that the child can lie and say, no, I'm safe with mommy and daddy. However, abusers, and I'm sure you know this, they show their true colors pretty quickly. They could put that poker face on maybe for a couple of days, a couple of weeks, even a couple of months. But after that, they show their true colors. So in residency, and the child gets to decide who they want to live with. A child knows who makes them feel safe, who respects them, from teeny tiny toddlers. Why wait till they're 18? And if there is an aunt, an uncle, a grandparent, a close family friend that is willing to take them in and provide for them to the exclusion of both abusive parents, well, that's what we do in an Osso Safe certified property. That way, that child, their health, well-being, and safety is present, and they don't have to wait till they're 18, and they will be living their best life. Everybody's better off for it. So that's what
Right.
we mean when we say we have to get rid of that. Waiting till they're 18, it's not working. It's not working. All of those children, and mind you, I just found out recently, and this is shocking to me, 5 children a day are killed in the US, murdered. At the hands of an abusive parent or someone that they're dating. 5 a day are killed. I found in the United States. I'm not
Mhm.
talking about other countries, right here.
Right.
Why when that doesn't have to be?
Right. Well, and those numbers expand even more when you bring into child trafficking that is involved with family as well. And that's even a bigger topic and a bigger area. But needless to say, there is a lot of different areas that children are not safe. And even the things, whether it's CPS or foster care or those places, a lot of times those are even more dangerous than their home as well. So having some of these safeguards and things in place and some pre-arrangements and agreements ahead of time to help children really do make a huge difference. And one of the things I'd love to say, just coming, back to yourself, is that, what we create as far as what's safe for ourselves in our own environments, I'd love for you to share, because I think that how we live in our bedroom or our office or our kitchen, we create these different safe spaces. And what is your favorite room in your home? What makes you feel the most safe? And what's your go-to place where you live?
Oh, excellent question. My whole home is safe. And wow, no one has ever asked me that. I like that you asked that, because considering where I came from, no room was safe. No room. So yeah, I would have to say where I am now in my home, any room. It could be any bedroom, any bathroom, the kitchen, the basement, any corner, backyard, front yard. Wow, that's an excellent question, Diane. Yeah, and that's how it should be. Your home is your home. Every crevice of it should be safe. However, I will say I just got, I'm a dancer, as I mentioned, and I just got dance mirrors put in my dance studio here just recently. So that is my safest. I mean, it's all safe, but I would say my most, I don't even know what the
most
word.
Sacred.
I'm sorry?
It feels like your most sacred space.
Yes, exactly. Yeah, the dance studio. Now that there's mirrors there, I feel like it's complete. So so that would be the room.
I love it. I love it. Well, I think you and I could talk about this for hours, and I know we don't have that kind of time together. And I know that our listeners are really going to want to hear more about the Osso Safe and how to stay in contact with you. We'll put all of your links in with the show. But is there any particular area that you'd like to direct them to now?
Just the website, ossosafe.com. I'm on all the social media platforms. My TEDx talk is out there. And my direct email is sabrina@ossosafe.com. So that would be the best way.
Perfect. Well, and as you know, our theme for this season is freedom fighters. And I'd love for you to end on how you are being a freedom fighter in the world today.
I love that title. We will see to it that safety becomes a required standard condition of residency. Just because you are a parent, it doesn't give you the right to abuse your child. And we have the right, all of us, to be free in our own homes. And that means respect, positivity, empowerment, encouragement, freedom of choice. That's Osso Safe.
Thank you. We can't want more than that than for our children. My pleasure. Thank you for your work. Thank you for standing up and standing in your power and making a big difference here in the world.
Thank you. Thank you, Diane. You too.
My pleasure. And to our listeners out there, thank you so much for being with us. And until we connect again, live your spa life. Bye for now. Bye-bye.